contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is Warp Chatter.
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to the Warp Chatter podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy lore, Warhammer 40,000, all that fun stuff. I am your host, Scuffy. This is a podcast by players for players, and today we're going to talk with Shebom from the Discord.
Howdy ho.
Mr. Duwang.
Hello.
Yeah. If you're on the main cord, you probably know me as Duwang.
Ah, okay. I didn't realize that was you. But there's all these different Discords with people with different names. I just I just use the @ and I use the PM, whatever the PM title is.
You know what Alfaris says. We wear lies like armor. So you just got to branch out, have like 50 personalities.
I mean, on the whole, anybody with the blue name, I don't trust. I can't. You guys have ruined my embed functions, so.
Let me pull some strings. I can set it up so literally just you can embed it. It'll be fun.
I think that would be great. I think the people would love it, just saying.
Oh, yes.
Give me a minute. This can be done.
But we're going to be talking about today. The topic is going to be cards that draw cards. They're called tutors. For the most part, everybody's got at least one in their deck. If you're not running with any, that's surprising. It's possible, but you'll find that your gameplay is enhanced greatly by including them. So we're going to be talking about a variety of those cards. Which are the good, which are the bad, which are the ones that seem to go everywhere. What their uses are. If you haven't been paying attention to the last couple of podcasts that we've been doing, we've kind of been hitting these broad topic card types, and I think this is one that everybody uses, whether we realize it or not. And sometimes people kind of debate on how much they should have it in their deck, or if they should, if they shouldn't. So hopefully we shed some light on a little bit of those thoughts, or at least our thought processes on those cards. But before we get to that, let's do ourselves little player introductions. Tell us about yourself.
Where do I begin? It all started when I was me.
Rogel.
Yes, like every person, just like everyone else, I was different. Anyway, I don't know where to start, I liked Warhammer when I was a kid, when I was like 12 years old. Funnily enough, the way that I was introduced to it was the infamous movie Ultramarines.
No, I think that's the only time I've ever heard anybody say that was their introduction to 40K.
I think that's the only time someone said that's their introduction, and they stayed with it.
They're like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I saw that, and I realized I wanted to have more. Like, nobody
I
says
saw
that.
big men in armor, and I was like, this is for me. It was either the movie or it was the game, the Space Marine game, because I remember either one of those randomly played Ultramarines, or I played the game, and I was like, Dad, I want to watch a movie. I was like, here's a movie about it.
And your dad was like, why?
Yeah,
why did you do this
I believe the movie came out first, and then the game was like, wow, why didn't we just do a movie of this? And then I think stores had the movie on sale. All of a sudden, I was like, oh, special edition. And you're like, oh, cool. And then you're like, this isn't
special edition. Like models of the characters.
Well, the game did. The game had a lot of DLC options, Space Marine, for your various chapters and whatnot. And then I think because it did in waves, and it was kind of expensive for the DLCs. But if you pre-ordered, depending on who you pre-ordered through to, you could get like specific gear. I think the Space Wolf skin was like if you pre-ordered through GameStop, and then there was another one that like you could get a golden chainsword if it was like through Walmart, and then I ended up getting the Black Templar skin because they re-released it because that was a pre-order thing. And then after all the hype kind of was trickling away, then they did the DLC with the Dreadnought, which was basically I think Left 4 Dead had kind of come out at that point. And they realized like, hey, having a big massive Dreadnought in the middle of these player versus player fights would be awesome.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, like I've always said, when it comes to any Space Marine related to media, if it doesn't have a Dreadnought in it at all, I instantly lose a lot of interest.
The Dreadnought just is so iconic, and awesome.
Like, I love Space Marines, but when the good old days, they used to call Eldar Titans or Eldar Wraith Lords Eldar Dreadnoughts. You know, there's certain thing that people like. Mm-hmm. It's the Dread Boys.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to equip a Dreadnought really fast?
Ooh, it's either two fists, flamer on both, or an assault cannon and a fist. Because hearing the assault cannon going off and knowing that it can also just smack a bitch, I love it. So good.
Furioso Dreadnought.
Ooh.
Furioso.
Actually, Librarian Dreadnought.
All right, we're going total power gamer.
Oh, we're going specific. Okay, we're going specific one. No. If we're going specific ones, I want the Blood Angel Contemptor because that bitch can fly like the
yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, listen, the Blood Angels have the best dreadnoughts. They actually made that a thing. I mean, they had that in their lore for a long time, and then they were like, let's actually make that possible. Like, you can have like 9 dreadnoughts in a Blood Angels army. It's awesome.
Like, unironically, a Horus Heresy army can have a flying dreadnought, and a 40k army can have a flying dreadnought, and that's amazing. I love that.
With the blood talons too, if you want, and then it's like dicing things out.
I stand by this.
I like my favorite kit out is just the standard. It's the power fist with the heavy flamer and the assault cannon. I just think it looks badass.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's too classic.
I rarely do las cannon missile launchers on a dread. I feel like that's wasted potential.
Yeah, it's too much. When I think of a dreadnought, what do I think of? I think of a melee specialist.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to completely restrict them to long range.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't know how the new rules are, but, I mean, the old rules is like, if you got the dreadnought in close combat with 75% of the standard units, there was nothing that they could do to hurt it. So it was just going to, kill them eventually. So that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Monstrous creatures are a different story, but that's a whole different thing. So you walked into Ultramarines, and you were like, I like this.
This is the world I like. Yeah.
I heard the theme, and I was like, God damn, this is some fancy Latin. Then I looked up the lyrics, and I was like, God damn it, I've been lied to.
God damn it, this is just gibberish.
It is. I don't know if you've actually looked into it. Like, the pronunciation is so weird. It's just like, so this is maybe like High Gothic? No, it's English.
No, it's when people go, High Gothic's just Latin. No, it's gibberish. Like, you can tell that they're trying to be Latin, but then they're not. You get the vibe, but not the words. I know what you're talking about specifically, but that's just how 40 dollars.
Yeah,
it's just gibberish.
You get the sense of it, but then it's like Cadiz or any of the other languages in various sci-fi things. Like, just make some sounds, put some inflection and tone in it, and you can go from there. Now, when they actually make it a real language, and people start like learning it, like those folks who have learned Klingon. Listen. This is not the language for you. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
There'll never be an official guide how to speak a 40k language.
No.
With like a working, what's the word I'm looking for? Snapping my fingers, remember it? Like a working alphabet. You'll never get that.
No. Lexicon? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll even say in some of the books where it's like, you want to speak the orc language? They ain't got letters. There's none. No writing. Have fun.
It's just crude drawings and screaming and grunts. That's all you need.
I mean, that's all you really need.
Don't get deep into 40k. 40k is not a deep sci-fi. It's got a lot of stuff to it, but it's based completely off a tabletop game, which is designed to just have things blow up. Like, it's not super deep.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And I frankly don't want it to be.
Exactly. That's all you need it to be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is your favorite faction to play both on the tabletop as well as in the game?
Oh, actually, I never really got into tabletop.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, over here, everything in my country that is GW, it is basically double priced.
Scam.
So if you see some that's like $50, for me it's like 100, basically.
Now, have you heard of a 3D printer?
Yeah, but it's a twofold problem. One, it's expensive to get into. Two, almost no one plays it. So I'm just completely limited. I did want to get into painting, though, at least for that part. Make like a little army, put them on the shelf, look at them from time to time, have them gather dust. All the fun parts.
Yeah, the fun part.
Just the step-by-steps, buy army, get excited for 5 seconds, cry yourself to sleep every night until you finish them, and then hate yourself, and then
buy another army.
Yeah. All you gotta do.
That's how it works.
Just evolves into pure apathy.
That's it. Eventually, you just don't even acknowledge the fact that you're lying to yourself. You're like, I'll paint it someday.
One of these days, I'll finish my Alpha Legion.
Yeah.
One of these days.
One of these days. That's what we all like to tell ourselves.
That's right.
I never really had a favorite faction. I've always gravitated towards the Space Marines in general. I've always had on the loyalist side, I've always had a soft spot for like Blood Angels, Imperial Fists, and like Dark Angels. You know,
See, I'll never understand the logo. I'm a diehard fan of this faction. I'll never like any other faction. I can't think of a faction I don't like in 40k. Like they all have their own little quirks that make them lovable.
Yeah,
like orcs are awful, as in like they are just a bunch of murdering psychopaths. But I love them because they speak with a weird accent.
Just don't bring up the orcs with the weird uniforms on them. They're old models.
I think they're fun. I think some armies and orcs are exemplify that. Like I'm not going to play orcs, but I never see somebody who makes an orc army that didn't have fun with it, because that's like whether it's painting or modeling and making yourself, like converting looted rhinos and land raiders and their bikes, and like half of that army is just fun, and I think that's cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That reminds me of not too recent, but the Gazkul Thraka book that came out not long ago. Fucking amazing. I recommend it for anyone. It's a biography of Gazkul through the eyes of Gazkul, or like his second-hand man. Okay. So, great book.
All right, there you go. That's a recommend. It's not written by Ben Counter, is it?
It's Nate Crowley. He's new.
Okay, that's good. Hey, give it to the new guy. If he pulls it off.
He's only written Xeno so far.
All right.
So far. He did that. He did Necrons. All good.
We need a new Xenos guy, because the last guy, who shall not be named.
Yeah, we're not going to name him.
Let's not name him. But let's just,
they got a lot of new blood.
They do, and they need some good ones to stick with them. Hopefully, and hopefully they treat them right. I don't know.
Like Mike Brooks did the Brutal Cunning book recently, which the entire book is written in orc speak, pretty much. So it's great.
Well, that's some effort.
I just
all the dialogue is orc speak, because Gazkul's book is like an Inquisitor interrogating an orc the entire time. So it cuts between like a Space Wolf and an Inquisitor speaking normally, and then cuts to orc language. No, Mike Brooks just went the entire book is orcs, so have fun.
Day number 5. I walked out and I crumped to get.
Oh no, it's great when they're explaining the hierarchy of orcs and like the religion. The Grot's going, well, obviously he's gotta beat me because he's an orc. It's just the rules.
Them's the rules. I do like that they're getting new blood, and I just hope that they will be able to keep it, and while the community is not going to completely eat them up.
Listen, we still got Aaron Dembski-Bowden, Dan Abnett. We got all the classics still there. We're good. The books are only great.
Dude, I've been stuck with reading Echoes of Eternity on my end recently. Really nice.
How caught up are you, Scuff?
For 40K or Heresy?
30K.
Okay.
40K you can never catch up because it's just random stories.
That's what I was going to say. I am now at the halfway point through book 2 of the Siege. So, yes, which I believe is currently 3.5 months into the year of the calendar for when the Siege started, like the press from the traders making it into the solar system and eventually getting to Terra and then making planetfall. And it's basically like 3 days of planetfall is where I think where I'm at right now. So
it's a really good book.
It is. It's good. I've enjoyed the pressure, the presence, and obviously this is, where you see these defiant last stands and the stakes continue to get raised, which is pretty cool. So.
Oh, just wait until you get to the later books. I'm in Echoes right now.
Yeah, I'm hungering for it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm just going to say, I knew the war was devastating on Terra, but I didn't know how bad it was. Like, oh my god.
What book is where Amit goes eat shit trader?
This, Echoes of Eternity. He's looking at his... Okay. Yeah, exactly this. He's looking at his gladiator buddy, and he's like, brother. He's like, eat shit trader. Dude, the book is full of just so many good moments in it.
Nice.
Finally, I get to see who Arkan Land is, and I see that he has a cyber monkey and a pet Skithari GF.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just been a thing for a while now in the other mentions of him.
I didn't know.
Arkan Land is a Giga Chad.
He needs to get a warlord is what he needs to get. Why don't we have an Arkan Land?
I don't know why
Land Raiders?
upcoming legend. Like, he hasn't even been like an event warlord in the past at all. Like, even when there was the war in the Webway events, he would be a very good a legendary warlord.
Someone suggested that before, but every time they've mentioned it, it got worse and worse, where they keep forgetting what's technically a land raider. So it's all right, so we got 90% of the vehicles in the game now because half of them have a...
Why not even just have, at this point, 2 energy, choose a vehicle, choose an Astartes vehicle and add it to your hand.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. It's trying to work off of this is technically a land raider. That gets
right, exactly.
No card in this game.
You gotta broaden it up. We have the ability to give marks of chaos to loyalist Astartes. Broaden it up beyond uber fluff to just broader fluff, and I think you can have a very functional warlord that could be crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah. He's just making Sark land speeders. He's okay. Why not?
For people who keep going, well, I want to create only land raiders. Is there a single card in this game that affects only dreadnoughts?
Right.
That just doesn't exist. There's no reason for it.
No, it's vehicle or bust. So that, I don't know. Well, I think we're going to see him at some point. I'm surprised we haven't yet.
I'm hoping we do, because he's an important character. He's a cool character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, screw having chaos marks on vehicles. It's all about putting chaos marks on buildings. Oh yes, this bunker is now super angry.
It has terror. Don't watch out. Watch out.
It's angry. It's got
to
spikes.
Be fair, you can you can fuck up a building, but it's funny that it's represented in game the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because half the bonuses don't work for it. Actually, 3/3 of the bonuses don't do anything for it.
I mean, they make it a little bit harder to attack, I guess. Take a little extra damage.
I guess.
That's
Corn, I guess. Really, yeah. Because otherwise, it's we made the building angry. What do you mean by that? I don't honestly know.
It's got teeth. Those doors have got spikes on the handles. I don't know.
They will fight back. Don't open them. It is angry.
Well,
don't dead open inside.
Talking about cards that I don't know. Just talking about cards in general, because I feel like cards that draw are just super broad. But I think it's important. I think the big thing with cards that draw. So tutors draw specific things. Let's clarify a few things. There are cards that just draw cards, and then there are cards that draw specific types of cards. Those are called tutors more so than just drawing cards, which I think. I don't know what you would call just a card that just draws cards, just a drawing card. Drawing engine? Is there a hotkey for that? There's not a term for that, I don't think. Because you've got 2 types, and you've got some that do additional things when you're drawing certain card types. You got void engagement, for instance, when you draw...
The buff tutors.
Yeah, when you draw a card, and then if it happens to be a tactic, it does some additional damage. You've got cards that just draw extra cards at a decent cost. You've got cards that have utility effects in the fact that drawing cards is an option, like Arvis Lighted, but it's not the only option, and the cards can do some other things. And then you've got cards like T'Cholka Engine. You've got cards like the Dark Angels, the Vow. They actually have a couple. I just mentioned the 4 energy Vow, but they've got a couple that draw a troop and then do something else as well. Whether you know it or not, you're playing with cards that draw. If you're not playing with cards that draw, maybe you've got a warlord that has an ability that draws or creates cards or something like that. But I mean, the speed of drawing, hand advantage, that is a long-term general advantage, I think, in every card game. I can't think of a single card game where drawing cards is frowned upon. There may be a cap to your hand size. There may be some penalties if you overdraw. But typically, the more cards you have in your hand, the more options you have. The faster you go through your deck, because you know what's in your deck, therefore you're going to get to the tools that you want to get to faster. I think the Sons of Horus are the classic example of this. They have so many cards that just draw cards, and you've got Second Wave, which can pull 2 cards out that can potentially have backlash that draw cards to get to your stuff faster, so you'll, by 8 energy, have a higher chance of having Vengeful Spirit, or by 7 energy, have a higher chance of having Muster for the War Master in hand. That's the classic upsell. Some factions do it better than others, but
I would say that recently, though, until recently, rather, EC were the king of draw. Because Sons of Horus lost a lot of it, but then EC gained hold at all costs.
I don't think Sons of Horus lost anything. Charity of the Gods having a conditional draw, not as easier as the Emperor's Children getting the perfection draw on their Longinus.
I feel like it hurt, but they made up with it by the very existence of Horus.
Yes, and Muster for Lupercal at that point. That's a totally bill. You should have plenty of cards between warlords that draw Horus, and you still have got the 2 energy, draw 2 cards. Okay.
True.
You know.
So what is that called? Supply lines?
No.
That's a vehicle one. Abandoned supply?
No, not
that's the one we have.
Resupply?
Resupply.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, let's take this to just rant that, my God, EG needs better namings for cards. Because you can name them generic, but when they have a generic name, but they're assigned to a faction, it kind of hurts.
Look, man.
Resupply sounds like something that should be a neutral card.
It does. It does. Instead, we got Lactitia Divinatus for the neutral card, which I think is also kind of, lore accurate.
Every Primarch got a copy.
Then you have the fun part where you have things that are cultists, but don't have the cultist mark on them. The thing.
Yeah, the Davins.
Yeah. The naming schemes that EG likes to hold true to is questionable at best. I think is the nicest way to put it. I hope Warforged is better. Then again, Warforged might get rid of neutrals in general.
One way or the other, there'll be some overview from GW on it, but we'll see. We'll see. So, with card drawing, obviously there is some downsides to drawing cards at some point. If you draw too many cards, you put yourself at the risk of milling, and some matchups against Alpha Legion, having too many cards in hand is a problem, and they have ways to make you draw cards. But typically, there's just so many. There's basically, I think, every faction has a card, whether it's a warlord or a card effect or a secondary effect that draws a card somewhere, some way. And then you've got all the neutrals. And some factions have got more than others. And like I said, typically they're cards that you probably play with all the time. But what makes them good compared to playing with a card that doesn't draw you? Or which ones are the best? I just said something.
Death Guard have almost no draw. One of them's defensive maneuver, and the other is Phosphex Bomb. And then Mortarion's Resolve.
Mortarion's Resolve is pretty good. Phosphex Bomb is not bad.
It's a good card too, but think about it this way. Out of all the factions in the game, Death Guard have exactly 3 draws, and one of them is bad. So,
I mean, to be honest, the Death Guard are all about having a long-ass fight anyways.
I think that's
true, but it's easier to have a long-ass game when I have cards in my hand.
There's a difference between having cards in hand and having cards that stay on the board that you can work with. Having cards in hand is always good, and that is the upsell of drawing cards. And the Death Guard have kind of, up and down as far as where they've been, but if you play a Death Guard right, you don't need a 10-card hand. True. You can operate very nicely with a 5 or 6-card hand and have a lot of options that are going to stick out there. But they still do like having that draw. Like I said, even though it is just on, the Phosphex Bomb, that's a poison and draw card. You just need one extra card.
You'll probably run that card anyways because it gets rid of big threats.
You're not losing anything.
Imperial Fist are also out here with exactly 2 draw cards, Shield Cover and Phalanx. Phalanx is good though, so makes up for it.
Phalanx is very good.
We got to remember though, there is also neutral draw.
And neutral draw is the biggest of the pool. I actually one time was going to debating doing a 100% meme deck, and it was just going to be cards that drew cards. That was it. Not even there was no damage there. There was not gonna my entire point was to play a game and draw my entire deck and not do anything to my opponent. And they'd just be like, "What are you doing?
Just intimidate them?
Why are you drawing all these cards?" And then cycle them back in with orbital base, but not. It's just like a Horus deck, so there's no Pale Spear. Just be I'm shuffling back in. I'm gonna draw them again. Just for the
really intimidation,
just for the sheer fun of it and the confusion to see if it could happen, because you could do it. There's enough cards that'll let you do that.
Wait, Scuff, are you admitting to trying to confuse players?
No, I'm admitting to trying to have fun, not confuse players. Have fun. Have fun with the game.
Fun is confusing the players.
No. Half the fun is watching.
We can't have that. We can't have that.
Yes,
truly. One of my favorite meme decks that I've ever seen was the Golden Curse, which is basically Conrad Curse with nothing but legendaries in it.
Yeah, I've seen those.
It worked. It worked. That was the funny part.
I'll say worked in heavy air quotes.
Yeah, but when it worked, it just went off.
In the hypothetical scenario where it works, which can happen, it worked.
In the 0.0001% chance that it works. Oh boy.
I love players who play those decks unironically and they get angry when it doesn't work. We know a few of those. It's great.
It's lovely. Well, you know what it is. You know how it is. People just
truly
that be how
it be. To be honest, I have the feeling that back in the day, a few years ago, meme decks were more prevalent and they were more workable. And maybe I'm wrong about it, but I just have a memory of...
Depends on the meta.
Yeah, obviously, but I don't know, man. I just have the weirdest memory of seeing way more people just fucking around with the game and actually being able to climb, or at least be moderately successful. I don't know.
Now it's a lot easier to climb.
Probably. I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually dedicated a bunch of time into climbing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, in terms of climbing, it's probably easier. And there's representation of technically... I mean, there's always going to be, like, a top 10, because there's always going to be at least 10 different warlords played. Granted, when the game first started, there really wasn't. There was 3. It was a top 3. It was Angron, Fulgrim, and then anybody else. If they had somebody had a deck or some new neutral came out. It wasn't until much later before the top 3 expanded to be a top 5 and a top 10. But I don't know. I think, yeah, there's always people trying different things. Whether or not they're playing in the same play space remains to be seen. Sometimes they play more on ladders or practice, or maybe they're on lower ranks, so they're matching up with different people. I don't know.
Practice warriors are out there. I respect their hustle.
It's always fun. Always fun.
Yeah, some people try too hard as well. That's always the thing. We know some people like that.
That's always going to be
Whoa. You mean you don't try hard every time you play? Every time you do something?
Play, you should win 100% of the time. If you're not winning 100%
or else
of
the deck's bad.
You're not even trying. So get out.
Listen, we got official message from Mr. Everguild in the first Q&A that slow playing your opponent so they give up is a fine behavior. So if you want to do that, that's an option. I'll never forget that one. That was a classic.
It's
a
viable strategy.
It is. I'm just saying, if you're not completely puckered up and you don't see like sweat stains when
I was playing somebody today.
Playing the game, are you?
I had a text I was responding to on my phone, and I forgot that I didn't hit the end turn button, and it was going into the thing. It's like, oh, I felt bad because I almost went the whole round. It was like the first round of the game too, which is like, there's no options. It's not like I was thinking or anything. Like, I just literally forgot to hit the end turn button. I was like, I felt bad.
Don't worry, you probably got an 8-page message afterwards.
No, I'm waiting for it. There's
an email to EG to ban you.
These people, these crazy people,
ruining my 40k card game.
Well, with the factions, as far as like the faction cards go, we've got Sons of Horus, I think, and the Emperor's Children high up there on
White Scars as well.
White Scars, definitely. Especially once they get that mission off, they'll get all their things. They'll get all the things because they're drawing, and they're drawing at reduced cost. And the lethal window of White Scars is crazy good. And all they have to do is play a card with Streak. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is.
Yeah, really. Some factions are hurting for draw. For example, Loyalist Titans have almost none, but they don't need it because it's neutral.
They don't need it. They don't need draw at all.
Loyalist Titans actually have none. They have Hangar Bay, which draws 2 vehicles, but besides that, the only draw is on their Warlord Titan.
They need 0
They deserve draw, but I do find it funny how they no longer have any.
The longer the game goes for them, the more cards they'll have in hand by the time they get ready to play troops. They don't need early draws.
It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter whether or not they have draw. I just find it funny how every nerf that's come for them has removed part of their draw, so now they're sitting at no draw.
It's okay. I don't think anybody's complaining. I don't hear any Titan players are like, give us the drawback. Knights took forever to lose some of their card draw, and they still have it on a couple cards. But that was a big problem with the Knights, for sure, because they had the same thing. They could just get all their tools. Because why not? I can draw. Everything I play draws me a card. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And also gives me a bonus effect.
There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between having some card draw to get what you need and having unlimited card draw. I think with the White Scars, that is the exception because that is their mission. That is their deck build. And if they do it wrong, they could mill themselves out. They put themselves out there. They shouldn't. If you played it right, you should play pretty good. And it feels nice when you hit that streak and you hit like crazy damage. But not every faction should have the ability to just like, heal draw, play a troop draw weapon draw, make plasma draw, draw everything I'm playing. My hand will never be empty, so I will always have options. Or if I don't have them, I can play a card and then probably get the options on my next turn. I think that was the one thing, obviously, with the Emperor's Children, with hold at all costs, and that saw the recent change. But they still have got card draw options. Sons of Horus still have got card draw options, although they tweaked it a little bit because it was too consistent. Deal 4 draw, stun draw, deal 4 draw.
It was pretty much free.
Draw 2.
Look at what is the version? Longinus Flight, I think it's called.
Yeah, Longinus, just Longinus.
That has a condition for its draw. That's fair.
Yep.
If it wastes the rest of my energy, then I get to draw a card.
Well, it had its previous condition too was is more good for killing troops because you could draw 2 cards, but now it's just I can do 4 damage to your face and draw a card with perfection.
Yeah, but it's conditional.
Yes.
Compared to the alternative where it was play the card like you normally would, and here's the card for free.
Correct. Yep.
I don't like that.
Longinus has to be the perfection card, which means that after it you won't have any energy. So either you're playing Tactical Brilliance and something else, or you're not playing anything else that turn. Which factions, besides those 2, currently, I think, would have other high draw options? What do you think?
White Scars, like we mentioned, has a lot. The Blood Angels got a decent bit with Airlifted Reserves, even though you won't see it often. And they have a lot with Prophecy Revealed.
Is a great one.
Hermia, Ferris Command. Yeah,
Judgment of Angels is really underappreciated sometimes take at least one off of it. Moon Silverblade is in a weird spot.
I like it. I like Moon Silverblade, but it's not for every deck. But yeah, they do have a lot of draw. But they've got a lot of draw that's like setup draw or like responsive draw.
Yeah.
Prophecy Revealed, you're only getting the draw if you're killing things with it. Like its main effect is just to break stealth and deal 1 across the board. The previous command, you're going to get draw if you get the Requiem off, but it's not just like a guaranteed draw.
But if it's not drawing, it's still paying itself forward with that ability.
Yes, absolutely.
Because flanking your drop pods, that's spicy.
Yeah.
They got a lot going for them. I like the Blood Angels in general. They're a fun legion to play.
They are. Revenants is a weird card for them that I feel it's kind of interesting on paper. Really haven't messed around too much with it.
I will include it sometimes.
I just feel it's kind of a little bit too slow, maybe. Like most other factions that get like a thing choosing to start this game, it's usually, either put it in play, put it in your deck, or put it in your deck and lower the cost. But put it, in your hand, sorry, not deck. But Revenants is just put it in your deck and draw a card, and it's like, it's not bad, if you boost something like a Sanguinary Guard, but I just feel like,
it's actually better than Fabius's Bile special card, because you get a draw card from it.
Yeah, it's not just return the deck. Mind you, Fabius lets you include the enemy, but why would I need the enemy's card if I have my card?
Yeah.
Already?
Or if your enemy has got a bunch of junk options that you're like, thanks, I get 3 2/2 choices. It's possible.
They drop the Apothecary guy from the Space Wolves that gives you ward.
Well, the Space Wolves didn't have too much draw out the start. They still don't have a lot, but
you can't give them too much.
No, because you don't want them to. They should be operating very little.
Corpse Swan. I love that card.
The best draw in the game, Corpse Swan?
It is! So underappreciated. I love it. It's so good. It's
the official ruling of the Warp Chatter podcast. Guff, you have no consent here.
You just got to get it to stick. That's all. Just get to stick.
Yeah.
Get it to stick. If it sticks, you win the game. Think about how easy that is.
How hard could that be? First off, get to 9 energy. Easy.
No, 10 energy. It's a 10 energy vehicle.
Is it 10? I thought it was 9.
Yeah, nope, it's 10.
10.
Well,
you're thinking of Callidius the Annihilator.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I'll get to that 10 energy mark. You know what? Do it.
Not hard at all.
Space Wolves?
I could do
it. Yeah. Just sit there, don't play anything, and then get to the correspondent. And obviously at that point, your opponent will clearly not have any hard removal options, so it's good to go.
No.
Obviously, hard removal is optional. Most people don't include it for a good reason.
That's right.
You don't need it.
The government doesn't want you to know this. Don't have any hard removal. Don't take any tactics. Just build nothing but troops. Trust me.
The government doesn't want you to know this. The Corpse Swans are free. I own
They're free. You can just take them.
The troop removal is your troops. That's what you should be using. That's the way that works. So what the Space Wolves do, they've got all those flanking. I mean, technically, that's the Space Wolf strategy.
Yes, we know what we're talking about here.
I think the Custodians. The Custodians are a faction that they've got card draw, but they also have got the Sentinel to work around. So the card draw is more important for them.
I feel like theirs is mandatory.
It really is, and sometimes just having timing when you play Lexum Ultimatum or Lexum Ultima.
Yeah, Lex Ultima.
Lex Ultima to draw as many cards as your opponent's hand. Like you can use that to your advantage if you know you've got it in your hand and you play. Lock yourself on your Sentinel, your opponent thinks that they're sitting pretty, you'll lose out, but you'll draw up. It's tricky strategy. I personally I think it's better to draw up and get your tools before you go ham. I think that's the standard operating procedure for most Custodes builds. And then you have a lot of tools, whether that's Paragon Spear and Mechanic Cobraness, or it's, having a hunting eagles. Maybe you've got the Moritat's Revenge. Maybe you've got the new one. I forget the name of it that gives you 3 choices.
Coleman's Wardens? Oh, never mind.
The one that either gives
Vexilla something.
Yeah, it draws 3 cards.
Magisterium Vexilla.
Yeah, draws 3 cards, stuns your opponent's units, or gives +4 health to all your units. Like, that's really good for 6 energy. It's a higher cost card, but the effects can be really good, especially if you're smart and you know how to play Custodes. That's the key, though. Playing Custodes is key. Like, if you don't know how to play them, you can really make mistakes where card draw is not going to
I don't want to say if you don't know how to play them, don't bother, but they really are one of those factions, like, you don't know how to play Custodes.
It takes practice. It either takes practice or talk to people who do and try to understand the method. Like, it's a finesse faction. It's really, the rewards are awesome when they pay off and you've played it right and you know what you're doing. And because once you know what you're doing, you know how to respond to your opponent's matchup and you can focus more on that. But it's not just something like, this has got first strike. I'll put this down. Like, okay, that might come back to bite you. Like, now it's not the time to play that card. Like, the time to play that card is in 2 turns. Give yourself some time.
Yeah, a lot of people need to remember that.
Yes.
There are good moments to play cards. Don't be like a bot. Do not play them just because you can afford them.
I think the Word Bears only have 1 card draw, don't they?
No, they actually have a couple.
Do they have a couple?
Yeah.
They do. You just wouldn't see a lot of
card draw or card creation.
No, Heralds of Truth, draw a card.
Okay. I was thinking Raising a Monarchia was what I was thinking.
Yeah, Dark Oratory draws cards.
Oh, that's right, Dark Oratory. Dark Oratory is very nice.
And then Sword Talgron. Yeah, Dark Oratory, it got really popular in Corpheron decks because you're going to have a board-wide troops and you're drawing 3.
Yeah.
Heralds of Truth is a fun card you never see because it's too slow, but it does have a draw. Let's see, your troops gain sacrifice, add a lesser demon to hand.
I forgot that it had the draw on it.
It has the draw. I mean, the draw was to make it playable in an unplayable card.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think there's a couple cards that you need, but when you have a faction that's also very token heavy or troop spawn heavy, I mean that's it's kind of the same thing with the Death Guard. I mean, if you've got options on the board, you don't need as many options in your hand. It's very nice to have. And their draw enhances those things that are on the board. But it's not like you've got to go fishing.
Yeah, which is nice.
Which faction would you say has the worst? And that's hard, because there's some really crappy card
worst
draw
innate
options.
Draw?
The worst card drawing option.
I might have to give it to Death Guard, because either you're cycling your entire hand for 5 cards, or it's Phosphex Bomb, because Defensive Maneuver doesn't exist.
Are we talking total? I was just talking card specific.
Oh, a card specifically, worst draw. Oh, I thought you meant what faction has a worst draw. Ooh, that might take a bit longer to.
Because I'm going to go with Iron Hands here.
Well, it's hard not to go Iron Hands. What card specifically?
I mean, we're going to. Well, what card specifically? The really terrible version of Supply Lines. There was the 5 energy cost. It was like ridiculous.
Armored Superiority.
Just gross incompetence for that card.
No, you can choose one vehicle and it costs 3 laps, but you're spending 5 energy for a 3 energy discount.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's value. That's value if you think about it.
That's the
That's
worst.
the true hustle.
What about Legion's Pride, the best draw card?
I actually like the idea of Legion's Pride, and finally, I mean, it took forever for them to give basically the Desperate Defense to the Iron Hands, because I felt like when Legion's Pride came out, that was the idea with it. That's not whatever we got. And then we got Desperate Defense, which just did that for everybody better than the Iron Hands. So then they tweaked it, they reversed that around. I think that's a decent card. But yeah, when I look at Armored Superiority, it's just terrible. It's not good. It's not a good card. 100%. It's not. It doesn't do like, okay, I get that for 3 less. If you're gonna draw, choose a vehicle and get it for 3 less for 5. Right, and this is a rare. Why wouldn't you just take the better way to get vehicles at reduced cost and play Captured Forge to create 3 vehicles for 2 less? I just feel that's better. I mean, and you might argue like, well, one costs 5, one costs 6, but one saves you 3, one saves you 6. There's a difference. I don't know. I can't I'll never play with that card.
I'll explain it right now for
into
you.
this one and say Jewel of Ultramar.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Is he wrong? No, I don't think he is. It's bad.
It's high cost to do what it does, right? It's 5 energy to make your starters cost 1 less. That's a turn where it's like, all right, 5 energy. Really, you're going to give your turn for reduced cost?
Hey, it affects infantry too, though. Therefore, it's gotta have value.
You see,
I don't make the rules.
This is where you got a big brain in. You gotta draw it with abandoned supplies, and then you gotta play double drilling site.
Of course,
that's super early, and then you're gonna get all the value.
There you go.
That's the Exodia.
But it doesn't reduce the cost of stuff in your hand, though. So late game, you're like, all right, one day I'll get those reduced cost troops. Like there's the same thing with the Mechanicum card. Like there's the Mechanicum one that does the same thing. Never get the value for that.
Greya?
No.
Advanced
schematics.
Oh, that one.
And that costs 4 energy.
Yeah, advanced schematics is reduce the cost of all your troops in your deck, no draw.
Yeah.
At that point, play Graya. It costs 1 more, but it's going to draw and reduce all your vehicles, not just Mechanicum troops.
Yeah, but if you're playing Mechanicum, then play Mechanicum.
True, but if you're playing Mechanicum, most of your cards are vehicles.
Hey, and then you should throw the mission in there for fun.
True.
I think maybe in event those cards are okay, maybe, but I wouldn't draft them. I would pick better options.
Yeah. Well, I guess if I gotta say worst draw, I'm giving it to Defensive Maneuver. That card is a trap. It looks good on paper until you realize at most you're spending 2 for 1 card.
What if at 8 energy I spend 2 to draw like 4 and then play an endurance and let my opponent's board out?
Ooh.
See, that's a really good scenario that probably
That sounds like an awesome defensive maneuver. I mean, I'm just saying.
I want you to show me that happening.
All right, I will make it happen.
I will. Okay. How many games
what about this one?
I am the Senate.
I am the Senate. Kill him. Oh no, let's do it. What are the bonds of friendship? Bonds of
defensive maneuver.
Yes, my lord.
Some factions have really nice draw, and then other factions like the Night Lords have essentially none.
Yeah, I think they've got Curse of Foresight, which actually 3 cards for
is one of the best ones.
Yeah, that's really good. I scoffed at that.
You might take
card
damage though.
For the longest time, because for the longest time, the good Night Lords decks were very tactic heavy, and you're like, I don't want to take 3 damage. But now it's shifted where they are troop heavy, and you could take 1 damage maybe. I haven't ever taken 3 damage from that card since the Night Lord changes.
I take from 0 to 2.
Yeah, I like Ebba Neruda is kind of the reverse for the Sisters. Sisters have got so much draw and create things too. Like they've got a lot of options, but Ebba Neruda is great. She's not as good as she used to be. She does less healing, but she still draws you 3, and you're getting a troop on the board. And technically, if you have the mission, she's drawing you 6 with the potential to heal 6, and you're getting the mission, and you're getting a 3/3 on the board. It's pretty good.
Sisters don't have a lot of draw, but 3 of their draw, they're warlords.
Their draws are really exactly, and their warlords are like Veronica is the same. She's just your base draw, but the other 2 are like very specific.
I'm drawing on a battle honor, which is really good, and the other is I'm tutoring my infantry.
I'm tutoring. Like, what do I want? All right, this is the prime time for Euphrates King. Like, it's just okay, cool. I've got that in my deck. I will cycle it over and over again.
You know what's a draw mechanic that I really want to see? Relic of Old Night. Just some that return card back into your deck and do something with it.
Yeah. I think, well, and it's drawing cards, especially for the Agents of Sigilid, is necessary because how else are they supposed to get the seals?
They really need those cards.
Yeah. I think before the expansion, before the Titan Death expansion added some more options to them, and they've got a troop that just draws a tactic, which can include a seal. I was using the Relic of Old Night and Orbital Base. It was the only other deck that I use Orbital Base on, because Orbital Base and Into the Warp is it's got a couple options if you're doing like a Warp Retreat possibly, but at this stage it really is not as good as it used to be. But Orbital Base was always just for Alpha Legion with Pale Spear. That's it. Even though it's a neutral card, it's a neutral card. Anybody can use it, but the only deck that ever profited from it was that particular deck. And then you change Pale Spear, and they could have just changed Orbital Base, or they could have made stronger changes to Into the Warp. It's like, okay, well, who else is going to use this card now? And it took like 2 expansions, and eventually we got the Agents of the Sigilate who can use it. So, but I think now they've got better options. So instead of playing a 3 energy tactic, I can play a troop and draw. Sure, I'll do that.
Oh, setup stuff. You just didn't see it coming.
It's long. They play the long game. That's what it's all about.
Truly,
the long con.
Well, what are your favorite card draws? Top 3, and this is neutrals or faction specific, or should we split it up?
I'm just gonna stop you right now and say the hammer.
Ooh.
Okay, the hammer's a strong draw. It's a really good draw.
It's a good draw.
Draw. There's a few cards I want to give it to. Either Ashen Claw or the Iron Warrior equivalent. I'm killing your card, my card's returning, and I'm getting a draw card.
Precision Bombardment? Yeah, that's beautiful.
Precision Bombardment or Ashen Claw, because to me, they're the same card in 2 different factions.
Yeah.
Which, surprisingly enough, Ashen Claw didn't get Ordnance, but Precision Bombardment did. Makes sense, Precision Bombardment's supposed to be like a ship from orbit, and Ashen Claw is just like a fighter, but I wish I had Ordnance. Give me it. I played Branson.
Do the Orphans of War have any Ordnance besides that big Dreadnought?
I think no. I have a few draws. No. Pirate Raid is a pretty good draw, theoretically.
Yeah, Pirate Raid's great because you're drawing your opponent to draw.
Yeah, and you're taking it.
Yeah.
If it's a tactic. A Desperate Situation, another good draw. Basically, Orphans of War got really good draw, and then they have Plundering. So, who plays Plundering? If anyone listening, or any of you have ever seen Plundering played on you unironically, please let me know, because that person needs help.
I play it for the memes in my hard deck, but it's a hard deck, so...
I mean, hard deck comes out swinging with memes already, so you can't.
That's how we go. That's how we har.
I don't know. I want to give it to Ashen Claw / Precision Bombardment, but then there's very specific scenarios like raising the banner for Orphans of War, not Orphans of War, Defender of the Caliban. I love that card. I get Jaegers.
You know what? I never see somebody get 3 Jaegers. They usually get 1 or none.
No, I've gotten 2.
I've never seen the 2. I've never seen above 1.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's just crappy luck or people just don't.
It might be crappy decks because Raising Banner is all about drawing troops.
Yeah.
If you play a troop heavy deck, you get it all the time.
If you got Duplicitous heavy, I mean, you could play a lot of tactics. You could draw up your Caliban's Heart. You could draw up your Strategic Masteries. Maybe your local uprisings. Like if you have too many tactics.
Let me ask you a question, Scuff. When was the last time you saw 2 blood games give a Custodes though? It's kind of the same.
Double blood games?
Double blood games into 2 different Custodes.
Last time was against a Nassau, which was
that
odd.
hurts.
Which was odd because it was Nassau, and typically he runs very Custodes light, and somehow he had 2 Custodes. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember it vividly because I remember doing a double take. Like, really? All right.
That guy came out swinging.
It's always nice when the draw cards work really well with a Warlord. I've been messing around for the meme, and I recently tried doing Drop Pod Assault with Tarek.
Okay.
Boy.
Using the card that gives your drop pods +1 attack?
Yeah, because he already gives you +1, so you just get a 3/3 Drop Assault on everything.
That's strong.
It's just like overkill. I haven't had... I think maybe one game somebody was like, I'll attack that drop pod. Like, they just see the 3 health with the 1 damage drop pod, and they just leave it alone. Like, alright, whatever. You got that troop.
You confirmed the muster, because, alright, take 3 damage.
Yeah.
Come on, do it right now.
Well, there's no way. Like, there's no way to take them all at that point, right? Yeah. I wonder, here's a question. I wonder if you got a 3 health, a 3 attack drop pod, right? With Tarek and the drop pod assault. And someone plays Rule of Fear. Will that kill?
Rule of Fear.
Because Rule of Fear... The troop has got 2, the drop pod has got 3, but if they have terror, the terror goes off of the drop pod's attack.
No, it goes off the troops.
No, it goes off the drop pod's attack.
Drop pod.
Yeah, because I've seen the terror animation.
For terror?
Yes.
For terror, yes, but for like Rule of Fear, no.
You think so?
Just still wipe it.
Yeah, I think Rule of Fear goes off the troop.
Yeah, Rule of Fear doesn't kill anything with 3 attack, or is it 4 attack? It's limit.
3 and up. Yeah.
3
and up, it won't hurt it. The reason why is because Drop Assault's dropping a bunch of 2 attacks.
Well, I know that it's dropping the 2 ones. That's why I'm curious is if Rule of Fear would look at that or not.
Yeah, we tested to Rule of Fear. If they come out buffed, they ain't dying from it.
Oh, interesting.
Which means they're particularly annoying to remove.
That's the way to do it.
Wait.
There you go.
But then again, you'd be asking for a lot if it could. I'm being honest. Then again, the only real way to stop it is, Nostromo. which is a really good way to stop it.
Yes, well, you can stop it with Silent Death too, and I think at this point most people should be including one of those in their decks. If they're getting frustrated by Targadon.
Like, I mean, if not that, I include, oh shoot, what's the card's name off the top of my head? The one that gives Orphans of War units, or any unit really, from precog, yeah. Bingo. That's good.
Yep, that's a good one.
That's a good way to respond to your threat.
Yep, you're like, okay, cool. You can't hit my face. That buys me a time. And then hopefully you've got some sort of like board-wide 1 damage Informa network and you're good to go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Might not, you might have it. Who knows?
So, what is your favorite 3 card draws?
Ooh, Ashen Claw. I'm going to include Ashen Claw and Proficient Bombardment in the same one because they do the same thing for 2 different factions. That's my one. I love them. I get damage and a card comes back to me. Ooh, the next one. None of the factions I really play have ones that I love. Prophecy Revealed, because Heart of Caliban suddenly reduced to 5 cards in my hand is nice. Your big play is just more draw. And for the last one, oh man, I guess a nice tutor card like Command Bridge. Classic. It goes in every deck.
Yep.
I can't think of one where it can't fit. If you've got no tactics, sure, but being able to pick the tactic you want, it's nice. That's where I go.
What you?
What do you got,
Does
Mr.
Vengeful Spirit count as a draw card?
It's a draw card by legal definitions.
How many times have you played Vengeful Spirit and then still drawn a card and played and the game continued?
Ooh.
Like, I think maybe like 1%. I think I might have done it in like 2 games. Just because I was like, if I get a quick fire, I got this.
Vengeful Spirit's nice because I don't feel bad about using it to kill a troop, unlike Contrador.
Yeah, I never really understood the thing with Contrador.
It is purely a finisher.
Yeah.
I've seen people kill my troops with it, and then I've gotten the card, and I'm like, okay, why did we do this? You saved yourself from like 5 damage to eat 7 later.
Yeah, I just never understood. I think there's way better ways to balance it than return it.
Well, it's flavorful.
I mean, yeah, because
captured by the
Imperialists,
Yeah, I like it simply because it's flavorful.
It's
good to see.
True enough.
EG remembers what they're doing sometimes. Occasionally.
I always like little flavorful cards like Flesh Change, where the person just explodes in the psychic energy, or Disagreement, where Curse just guts someone, just consumes their insides for sustenance. You know,
ways to benefit from your own troops on your turn.
Heavy air quotes, disagreement.
Yeah.
When I disagree with a person, my first response isn't usually to decapitate them, but I'm not Curse.
See, that's going wrong.
Okay, see, I'm making a mistake in that. Curse is on the Sigma Male Grind set.
He is.
Yeah, if I had to pick 3 cards for card drawing that does the best, that's a tough call. I like Precision Bombardment for sure.
Hold at all costs?
No. I didn't like it then. I didn't like it. You know, it was too much, too crazy, and then the original was just ridiculously stupid. It's like, all right, I guess it's good.
If you have 0 cards in your hand, and you play this card as a Hail Mary, here's some cards for free.
I would probably say I run one of it in all my Thousand Suns deck. Is the Enumerations? Enumerations gets so good. It's got reflection. It draws you 2 cards, and if you're playing a Psyker deck correctly, you'll have some Psyker extra left over. Like, get 7, 8, whatever. Like, as long as you know if you can or can't answer with what your opponent's going to have. Like, you know, I don't need Astral Warfare next turn. Boom, boom. I just draw 4 cards. Cool. Doesn't cost me anything, and I can still play my stuff. Really, really useful. So I think that's worth mentioning. I think that's a really good card.
Yeah.
I think on that end too, the Titans.
Deserve draw.
They did they have one similar, but it's like energy refill. The Knights just have got their stealth removal. It's just draw 3 cards. Like, that's pretty good, and it's stealth removal. That's a good one.
Luckily, it does nothing but remove stealth.
That's all it does. It doesn't do any extra damage, so you still got to work to get rid of whatever it is that you're removing the stealth on. But drawing 3 cards after remove stealth should give you some options, and it's a low cost. Was it 3, 2 or 3? Yeah. It's 2 or 3.
That's 3 energy.
I think it's 3 energy.
Yeah. I'd say that, and then like I said, like Precision Bombardment, it's damage, it draws, it cycles back in, so it's not like you're losing it. You might get it back. You might get something else. Like, it's not bad.
I love how it cycles itself. If it was just deal damage and draw a card, it would be good. But the fact that it's dealing damage and then it's returning to my hand.
It is a card that, it's just never a bad card. Like, that should be a 2 of in every
There's no reason not have 2
yeah.
in Iron Warriors and Orphans of War decks. You should just have both of them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because they are the same card, just different numbers. Let's not beat around that bush. I don't think anyone at home is going to yell at me for saying that.
Well, any other thoughts on cards that draw? I mean,
include as many as you can.
Is there any other time besides Alpha Legion games where it's ill-advisable to draw cards? Could you say that?
I would say really no. Unless you're up against an Orphan of War. I mentioned a lot of them today. It's not my fault. Because Pirate Raid. Having 9 cards is cool and you're all, but now suddenly you get 1 card and then 7 tossed to the void. That sucks.
Actually, Night Lords with Conrad Curious, when he gets his madness off. Because at times you might have the thing where you just have a deck full of troops, but if you play the troop, it's just going to die and feed his stealth.
Yeah, but you got to empty them, but you keep giving him stealth. That hurts.
In an endless cycle of pain. And I guess, Korax. If you're going to feed his stealth
that's annoying. Yeah.
Way more prevalent with, Cruise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Still, I would say they're not as bad as the Alpha Legion scenario, where it's like, oh, you bothered to draw a card this turn, I'm going to harrowing you.
Yeah, now's the time I punish. You're stunned. Here's some troops that damage you while you're drawing. I'll just make it so that you can't play anything with your boards full, so now your hand is all set and primed, and here's a harrowing. Like, that's just classic Alpha Legion. It's good stuff. And I'm not even talking about traps. Like, I'm specifically avoiding talking about that. Like, we should do a whole episode one day where we just go off on traps, but we're not going to do that today. I'm saying classic Alpha
Legion. I should have saw the 8-page Reddit rant about how traps were broken, and it was great. Traps aren't broken, folks. They're just the most boring play style imaginable.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
They are.
Well, any other thoughts on cards that draw?
Oh, you thought you had me at any other thoughts, and I was blanking out completely.
I had to specify.
Yeah.
I really think that's it.
Okay.
At least for me.
There's some bad ones and some good ones. If anyone is out there running decks that don't draw any cards, and you're having awesome success with it, let me know. But if you're not having awesome success with it, then you really should consider card draw. Does that mean everything in your deck should be drawing cards? Absolutely not. I don't think, aside from a few decks or meme decks, that's really possible. But sometimes I will weigh the strength and value of a card that draws a card over a card that doesn't do anything for me that turn. And whether that is putting something in my hand, putting something on the board, taking something off my opponent's board, or doing some sort of damage. If it's just do this effect and that's it, and there's no card draw, and it's not going to be a continuous effect like Stalwart Defenders or Servo Arm or anything like that, I might err on the side of something else that will replace that and draw me a card in addition. That's typically my thought process when I go through and I'm doing deck construction.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Scuff, if you could take one draw card, and change it, which one would it be? Any card that draws a card. Any one. You get one, you send to EG, and you're like, make it this, and they're like, all right, I got you, fam.
All right, does it still have to keep the draw card, or does it have to lose the draw card?
It's got to be a draw card.
Okay.
It's just going to be.
So it has to be a card draw that draws a card, but then it has to then it has to get some sort of change to it. Ooh.
Yeah, just a change. It's still a draw card. It just has a different effect.
Right, add draw into a card that doesn't have it.
That's too easy, right? That's too easy just to add draw.
I was going to say, can I give dark gift or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
It has to be a draw card already. Fix
I
it.
can't cheat.
Hang on here. Hang on. I'm thinking. There's a lot of options. They're just like, the draw part is better than the rest of it.
And we break
some oddly specific draw that no one uses. Besides majority of the word bearer card pool.
You know what? I would do this. The Mechanicum 7 energy one, the one that draws 3 Mechanicum troops from your hand and have them at reduced cost, I would have it create 3 Mechanicum troops from my hand at reduced cost. And I would probably keep it at 6 energy instead of 7. Because unless you're playing a Mechanicum troop deck, you're typically only going to have 1, maybe 2 Mechanicum troops in your deck, and they're low cost that are better early game versus late game at 7 energy. is it Melgator, maybe a Secretary Axiarch, maybe, I don't know, maybe an Alpha Theta or a Dark Tech Adept, but I mean, that's about it. But if you've got a card that creates them instead of pulling them from your deck, you could get Doombringer, you could get Coriel Zeth, maybe you'll get another Melgator or Pi Alpha or whatever like that, but then you'll still get them at reduced cost as well. 7 energy, otherwise you're like, all right, I got these 3 free troops that at this point do me nothing. Whereas 6 energy, I got these 3 troops that are low cost that I can use next turn or further on. I would make that change.
Not a bad change.
I think it's called Spirit of Mars, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How about you?
I don't know. It might be Emperor's Wrath, since it's the only neutral that only works for legions. Well, I guess now that we got a new one where it's the drop pod assault. I don't actually know. Maybe Emperor's Wrath, just giving the drop pods a little bonus, just by default. Maybe some extra health, because it's an oddly specific card. I like it though. Yeah, Emperor's Wrath, give it an extra health on what it does. Simply because I want my little, like, I'm playing weenies at 9 energy, essentially. It's no muster for Looper Call. Let's say it's not a good card. I believe there was Vulcan Emperor's Wrath was popular at one point, if I recall correctly. I don't remember how long ago that was, though. Jesus. Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of content with what we have for draw. That might be my problem, oddly enough.
Pretty much. I don't think there's a lot to complain about draw. It does its job, you know?
Yeah.
Neutral draw's very existence gives us no reason to complain about draw.
Pretty much.
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah, because if there's no neutral draw, then we would have a lot to complain about because we couldn't do anything.
Well, the pacing of the game would be different, I think, across the board, and there would still be a couple factions that excel in it, but they wouldn't be ramped too hard. Where now, I mean, you can ramp very quickly and get to what you need to get, and there's answers like everybody's like, oh, how come they always have the card that, you know, they always seem to have this card? Like, well, I wonder why. They're playing it at 5 energy, and they played 2 card draws before that, plus they also have 3 turns. Like, that's an additional 5 cards in their hand that they didn't have before. What are the odds that out of the 24 cards, there's a 20% chance that one of the cards that they draw is going to be in their hand that they need to have to play on the same energy turn every time? That's why you see it. It all comes full circle. If we had bigger decks, okay, there'd be an argument for that, but we don't. The speed of the game is go, 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 go. You can't see it, but I'm snapping my fingers. You should be able to hear it. That's the pace of it. Yeah.
You don't have 100 card decks.
No, let's make that a mode, though. Let's do it. Let's blow up the server.
I would love to see HHL Commander.
I'd dig it. I'd be down for it. I can imagine some of those reckonings going off because then like have got too high costs. You're like, oh no, it's gonna happen now.
Bouncer.
Well, when you're not playing Legions, what is it that you're up to?
Fun enough. I do like it. Sorry, kind of got distracted there. Remember when we talked about Space Marine at the start?
Yeah.
I was going to say that the game actually has a really interesting life cycle. I don't know how many of you
are still playing it.
Recently, it got an update where all the DLCs are for free now.
Yep.
And there's been a mod that's been worked for I don't know how many years, but it picked up some, well, there was some drama, but it picked up some speed recently. It's called Augmented. Pretty fun little mod. It adds a new class, it overhauls some stuff. It's generally pretty fun. So I've been messing around with that. Other than that, just, basic stuff. Legions, work, all the generic gamey stuff when I have time.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you do for fun?
Who's that directed towards me?
Either of you. Let's talk
I got
about
my
fun
2
games.
campaigns still running. And this Monday, I may actually become a player for the first time in almost 6 years.
Ooh.
It's a Christmas miracle, really.
Truly.
Yeah, Spelljammer's going good. The players are currently in a town being taken over by a cult of Orcus. What they don't know yet is Orcus is there as an avatar. They'll learn that the hard way. And tonight I have another campaign for my other world. That's fun. They will be fighting a Hydra. Hydras are a fun fight.
They're exceptionally fun.
Theoretically, they can have an infinite amount of attacks a turn. Just saying.
Just give them the brain bugs. What were those really big brainy things that completely mess up the game?
Oh,
Collective hours?
Yeah.
Vanifar's added a way to deal with them.
They gotta have that way though. That's the trick.
Well, Xanafar's way to deal with them is if you take away a week of rest, your ability scores come back, no matter what. Mm-hmm. So if the players aren't on a time schedule that's like cutting close, after an intellective hour fight, it's all right, boys. The next week we got to spend it doing nothing so our guy can get back up. Or rather, our guy has to do nothing. We can do whatever we want for a week. Which, it's our way to deal with them. Because otherwise, intellect devours in that fight where your DM put them in and it got someone, guess what? That player character just died. That sucks. There's no way to really stop it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything you guys would like to plug?
Right. I do want to plug my own little thing. Recently, the past 2 weeks, I've been screwing around with a thing called Rivals. It's basically a little mode. And Legions, it's mainly advertised through the in-game, not in-game. Yeah,
it's essentially a new Crucible.
I hope, one day we'll be able to have some Crucible and this thing advertised in-game. God, please, But it's basically right now mostly on the Discord. It's like a mini Crucible. Basically, everyone gets a award for, winning if they win. The idea is supposed to be basically Crucible Light. Every week we're going to have a rotating Primarch, and you're going to have to use Primarchs to defeat said Primarch, hence thus the name Rivals. This last week we had Jagatai Khan. This upcoming week we're going to have Lehman Russ. Can we get approval from Space Wolfman Jack, Scuff?
I think so. I think Space Wolfman Jack sounds on that. Hang on. Let me check with them.
Oh, yeah. Space Wolfman Jack signing off again. Get that Rivals. Get on down. Lay it out.
I don't know what I just witnessed, but I want to pretend I didn't. Yeah, I'm going to pretend that didn't just happen.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, Space Wolfman Jack. We'll check again later.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. All right.
I'm killing that man.
I fucking love that man. God, if you heard him, I'll break your...
The minute this starts recording, I'm strangling that.
I'll break your big claws.
You can try to beat my meaty claws. What?
Speaking of claws, Scuff, please tell me you'll be doing a Christmas Carol. Another one.
I've got a couple I'm thinking of. I'm trying to figure out the good lyrics for it. I've also got a couple in my head for album 2, Dos Equis.
Yes.
They're all very loose terms right now. You gotta start off with the title, the lyrics, the chorus, and we go from there.
You already have me hyped. I fucking love the other one. I just kept blasting at my friends' ears for like a week. They hate me now, but it was worth it.
It was worth it.
That's to make.
If it's ruined somebody's week, then that is exactly why I did that whole album.
Funnily enough,
miserable. It was a success.
Funnily enough, it became the funny thing, where you kind of listen to something, and the longer you listen to it, it just becomes normal. And now we just vibe.
That's how I do it with the Weird Al stuff. It's like it's just
really,
a song.
That's Doing Your Mom by what's his name?
Ray William Johnson. Oh my god, I haven't heard that in so long.
You have it. I hear it near constantly. I will not elaborate further.
Doing Your Mom. God. Just the internet. There was so much drama around that song. I don't know if you ever heard about it.
I know that song simply due to the meme, nothing else. I did not know there was drama.
There's just a bunch of drama about it, because apparently the people who made it, Ray William Johnson and his buddies, they got in a big fight for the copyright about it, and they just stopped being friends.
Imagine getting a fight with people to copyright a song called, and I quote, "Doing Your Mom."
Dude, Ray William Johnson's entire fucking music career just has some of the most weird named songs.
Have you ever heard about Wesley Willis?
The name is really familiar.
Oh man, I'm gonna educate you. Wesley Willis.
Please do.
McDonald's is the place to rock. Oh, Rock and Roll McDonald's? You never heard Rock and Roll McDonald's?
I have.
I don't think I have.
Oh my gosh! That. Well, first off, his 95% of his songs all sounded the same. He unfortunately passed away. He was a man who had paranoid schizophrenia, and then he passed away. I want to say 2003, 2004. But he had multiple albums. And he had some great hits, but they all sounded rudimentarily the same, and yet each of them was just so good. And Rock and Roll McDonald's is possibly the number one. I want to say his top hit that everybody would recognize or know or share, like I'm about to share with you. So his lyrics were just basically talk speak that was kind of like he had these thoughts that he just had to put out there in the world. And then he had a chorus, which made no sense with the lyrics. And then typically he finished each song with a product endorsement catchphrase from TV, like Burger King, have it your way. And it had nothing to do with the song whatsoever, but that's just what he did. And he had a Casio keyboard, and he would start the Casio keyboard with that same beat and get into it and tell you about how that's where all the, it's just good stuff. So if you have a chance, that's what I'm going to plug. I'm going to plug deck slots, and I'm going to plug Wesley Willis, because I think when I think of Wesley Willis, I think of all the variety of songs that he had. And it's just like all the variety of decks that I would like to have in the game. And that's. I think they go hand in hand.
When you mentioned all of the samey songs and albums, I immediately remembered Axel. You probably know this man, but he's the greatest rapper in all of existence, known as Viper. Who's the man known for releasing 200 albums, which all have the same lyrics, just different. Just different instrumentals. The guy's legitimately insane. He just has so many classics. Just stuff like what was it? Fuck Money, I'm a Waging Interstellar War. Just bangers all the way through. And and like you said, since we're doing it with the game, I hope this is not what the game becomes. Much of the same, just a kind of different coat of paint, but all the same. Just.
I think so. I think from what we've heard, it should be different. I don't know. I'm wishful thinking.
I don't know. All I know is that they're working on it.
I hear that a lot.
From what I've heard as well, just Warforged is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for news.
Axel, you got anything to plug?
I would do the usual. I'm gonna plug my boy Dorn. It's really Clark on Instagram. He's drawn all my profile pictures, the beautiful pirate crab and the crab bearer, or the crabberer, as some people like to refer to it as. It's horrific. People who notice that it has mandibles and eye stalk always say it's disgusting, but I think it's adorable.
All right.
That's my plug, my boy.
Well, with that being said, I've got to cut it out a little bit early and get out of here, guys, but I want to thank you for making time with us to sit down and talk about Cards of Draw. Hopefully the information here has been enlightening somewhat. If not, the conversation's been enjoyable. If you fell in love with the Ultramarines movie, please feel free to check yourself into a mental hospital. And otherwise, let us know if you run those decks that don't draw cards.
Listen, the voice acting is pretty solid. You can tell the animators gave up.
I think they were like...
The Chaplain had such a good voice actor.
I think they had just a script without any direction. Here's the lines, here's the dialogue. What do we do with this? Do we have any sort of storyboard? No. This is just characters talking. Okay, well, what do we do? How do we animate that? I don't know. Let's have them walk. They're taking a walk together, and occasionally things run out of the dark.
I like how one of the Marines gets so bored when they do their little patrol in the desert that he just starts walking backwards to alleviate the boredom.
Yeah.
Just hey, let's...
It's so not Space Marine. But
it is so. He's like, hey, I'm the cool Ultramarine. I walk backwards. Check it out.
What that edgy guy who had a scope on his bolter and killed the heretic on his bolt shells.
You can tell the people who were told to animate it were like, what's 40K?
Yeah.
Well, here's the rundown. You got this. Because the alternative would have just been cookie cutter Marines are constantly walking in a circle, and they're like, oh, they're happy to do this. This is their job.
Yeah. We'll have to hope that one day we get something. I keep waiting for the Angels of Death miniseries. I don't know.
Is that the Blood Angel one?
Yeah, that's Blood Angels and Gene Stealers.
There's some good parts in it. There's some good parts in that one. I like it.
Yeah.
There's a great part when they're on an elevator and one has his arm cut off.
That just stares at him. He's like, "Yep, I know how you feel."
Yeah, the sergeant who also recently had his arm cut off turns at him and goes and just gives him a nod. It's like, "I see you, brother." And he goes, "Yep."
Yep.
And the Dreadnought death scene in that miniseries is also very good.
I do find it somewhat funny when it was one of the first scenes that I saw from that series. It was the main guy's being really broody. And the chaplain comes up to him and he's like, "Have you forgotten your days of friendship, brother?" It's just I know the Blood Angels are they're not the typical edgy stuff brother, stop being mopey, you put on your...
They have the Death Company in their group. They are edgy.
Yeah, but it's not like the Dark Angels where how dare you laugh at a joke, put on your hood and just pretend you're nobody and stuff like that. It's you're my brother, let's go paint a picture together and skip across the river of blood, just fun friendship stuff. Just it felt weird for like I don't know. I have this like image in my head that Space Marines are like just overly serious, and just a chaplain coming up and be like, "Brother, friendship," just took me off guard.
I like the classic, not edgy, but like super serious Space Marine. But I do like the breaks where it's stupid. They're great.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense in some factions more than others, right? Like, I expect like Space Wolves and Salamanders, even Dark Angels. I wouldn't. A Dark Angel is just too seriously serious.
Yeah.
Well, at least the higher ups. I feel like the lower downs may be a bit less serious.
I don't know. Like if I'm just going off of, and I'm not even thinking about like Secundus chapters right now, but I think like there's been some good things with the Crimson Fist, Battle of Rindsworld, and there's some scenes there where it's kind of like. It's gritty space marine action, but at the same time, there's that kind of camaraderie that goes beyond just like serious and more like jovial, like legitimately happy to see you alive for the sake of who you are, not just like it's like Alessio, I thought they killed you. It's like, no, just got my arm. That's all. Captain Cortez, get shot. Late plug Captain Cortez. Have him cross the Codex Rubicon. God damn it.
Late plug the entire Crimson Fist chapter.
Absolutely. If you're not playing Crimson Fists, get the fuck out. Like, just
Ren's Might, your army. The best land raider to ever exist.
Burn your army right now. Melt your plastic down. Reforge it. Repaint it. Crimson Fists, baby.
Crimson Fists.
They are the best of the Imperial Fists.
Well, that's it for me, guys. I gotta get going. Thank you for making it on here next week. We were talking with Team Spain. So should be a good chat, wrapping up the group stage of the World Tournament and getting their takes on how it went down. So we'll see you next week. Yeah. Bye.
It ends here.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
I can't help but appreciate your talents.
It was inspiring.
I need some